Well, welcome to It's Now Friday, and we are day number 8 of our Move with Intention focus for the month of November. Hope you've been moving along with me, and if not, here's a beautiful day to start. So for me, by Friday, my body is a little bit tired and I've got a big day ahead tomorrow. So we're going to do some myofascial release work today. You'll need a bolster and a couple of balls, and bring along a cup of coffee. Oh, so let's take that body up and over to the mat. Take my shoes off. And we will just start with a little bit of seated movement. So I don't know about you, but my hips get quite sore. My Thursday, I spend most of that day seated at a desk. And having lived quite an active life, 30 plus years in retail, which is when you're on your feet, and then in teaching and quite actively teaching, having one day sitting down, always a challenge. I tell you what, the plants always need watering at my place of work. Rooms always need cleaning so I can get up and down away from the desk. Move the other way. I'm just going to have a little sip of my coffee. And then let's come on to our backs and just roll the body on down. We'll start off with some little rolling bridges here. A little tuck under of the tail, press the hips on up. Sweep the arm back and up behind you. Big breath in at the top. And then exhale breath as you lower on down. And a few little snap crackle pops there, which was kind of cool. Little tuck under of the tail, press the hips on up, big breath in, reach the hands up and over. And then breath out as you lower. So with a lowering back down, see if you can lower every single part of your back body. I often think about here, my t-shirt's lifted up off the mat. And then as I lay down, I want to see if I can get every little piece of my t-shirt back down onto the mat. Oh. And when we really concentrate on creating that awareness of where we are moving the body, so we peel every segment up. Again, applying that movement with intention focus. It becomes less about just lifting the spine up and down off the mat. It becomes more of a practice in itself. How much more movement can I maybe tuck my tail in a bit more so I can keep my upper back off the mat, but just a little bit more. It becomes a more engaged process. Just do a couple of rounds there. So a little tuck under of the tail, feeling the spine up off the mat, bone by bone. Reaching those arms up and overhead. And then lowering all the way back. Down. It'll relax out through the hips there, keeping your left leg nice and still, pelvis nice and heavy to the mat. So pelvis heavy to the mat, belly heavy to the mat. Just start with some little gentle knee fold opens. And you're probably thinking, oh my gosh, they are so beginner Pilates. But what I love about these gentle knee fold outs is we're trying not to drop and lift the left hip up off the mat. But the goal here is to keep everything else in the body nice and quiet. Knowing that if your right knee doesn't come down as close to the floor as perhaps mine does, that's okay. We're all different. Our skeletons, our bones, how deep our hip socket is, how round the top of our femur bone is. It's all different for all of us. just as we are all uniquely different and incredible human beings in our own right. So I find just sometimes the beginner Pilates just as challenging. The beginner Pilates exercise is just as challenging as some of the more challenging ones. And the challenging piece for me is to just allow myself to really focus. Let's switch on over to the other side. Right leg stays still. Exhale breath as the knee folds open. Inhale breath as you come back in. So the goal is to keep this leg that's not folding out to the side beautifully still. And that comes from a little bit of energy and awareness to dropping that belly flat to the floor. Can we isolate just one part of our body to movement and the rest to stay beautifully still? Yeah. And now this is the part that I find the most challenging of all, is to alternate legs without letting momentum take over the practice. Other side. Back in through center. Exhale, open. Now for me, the exhale breath is going to help me kind of corset my abdominals a little bit more. As I've lost my concentration, I feel myself starting to swing, and we don't want to have that swing. Good. Bring the legs back through center. Draw the knees in towards the chest. Give yourself a little hug. We'll rock from side to side. And then we'll move into some little leg floats. So feet flat to the floor, belly pressing down. Relax your bottom. We tend to squeeze the bottom to try and press the abs down to the floor, but I really want you to keep the bottom relaxed and just press that belly down. Take a breath in, and then as you breathe out, leg floats up, and then float it back down and up. It's like a little bridge marching without any movement here. Up and down and up and down. You might find this is a little easy. So we're going to lift the legs one at a time. Belly presses down to the mat. Shins are parallel. And then lift the other one. With a bit of that cramp in my tummy. So, right, then from here, foot flattens down. It's a bit like foot rock flats. Foot flattens down. For those of you young enough to remember that cartoon, foot rock flats and down and lift. So the belly stays nice and flat to the floor here. So exhale breath, foot flattens down and inhale. Let's continue for another 4 reps here. Keeping belly nice and flat to floor for 3. For 2. And 1. Bring the legs into tabletop. We're going to squeeze the knees together. Hold the left leg still and just go external rotation. Sorry, internal. Almost turn that right thigh bone in the hip socket as far as it can for your body, and then back to center. This one's really, really hard for me. See the belly pressing flat to the floor, just isolating the movement from the knee down to the hip and back in. You've got 2 more. 1 more. And then let's go other side. So open and back in. Keep those knees squeezing together. So I just place my pinky at my thumb at my knees. Keep this nice and steady. Oh my goodness. You've got another 3. 2. And 1. Okay, keep the knees squeezing. Let's go both legs apart and back in. And out. And back in. Maybe have the hands around the hip area so you can feel the muscles that are working there. Go for 2. And then That's the last one. Good. Hug the knees in towards the chest or stretch the legs up. So roll on up. We're going to do a nice posterior chain release with the balls today. So we'll start off with a nice quick way on how to get your hamstrings and your calves done at the same time. So if you might need to have a cushion under your knees if your floor is hard, and then you're going to place the balls one then the other. We'll start down. You've got your Achilles heel, so just above that, little trigger point there. And you'll sit down on those balls. Start to tuck them into the flesh of the height of your hamstrings, and we just sit down. We'll just take a little toe stretch there as well, so you get that beautiful release through the soles of the feet. We'll just take some nice soothing breaths here. So this one may not be your favorite one and most exciting and dynamic session to do for the day, but I find if I don't actually do this sort of work, I just stiffen up like nobody's business, and I find it really hard in the mornings. Get up and walk some days. I just find it really challenging. That old adage of if you don't move it, you'll lose it, that definitely happens. It certainly happens. I feel it for me. Gotta keep moving a little bit every day. Let's take another little breath there. You could wiggle from side to side if that feels okay. And then lift up those hips and then move the balls to the center calf and then sit back down again. So now you're going a little bit more into into belly of hamstring. If it is okay for you and comfortable for the knees, you can untuck those toes. And you can measure how much weight goes into those balls, whether you're leaning back more, that's intense, or slightly forward. So you're in the driver's seat here to manage how intense this is. Gentle little rock from side to side might feel like it's exactly what you need. What you doing, little buddy? Go, let's go. What you doing? Yeah, come on here. You've been crazy this morning. A rainy day, a bit frisky, cooler weather. Yep. And then the final point, we're now going to move the balls not tucked in behind the knee, but just a little bit higher on the calf. And then we sit on back down. Yeah, look at you, you're all dirty in your legs. And then we sit back on down. Yeah, there we go. Oh, that one's a little bit more intense. We're lower hamstring and upper calf. Isn't that right? Isn't that right? Yeah. Rock and roll, a little shimmy from side to side can feel quite nice there. And then a little lift up out of that. Come back and sit down on those. So it's not as intense, but it's quite a quick way to get a little bit of relief into tight calves and into hammies. Okay, so little dude, we're going to come down onto our back now. So I kind of need you to step away from the mat if you can. This might be challenging, but anywho. So now we're going to go center jean pocket of your glutes. Right, so lying on down. Lift those hips on up, and then balls go center jean pocket. So if you were wearing jeans, they'd be going right into the center of those buttocks. You can bring the legs up, and you could take those little knee fold open, either feet flat to the floor or legs up in a little tabletop. And just a little wash of the legs from side to side. You might find a bit more sensation if you bias your weight to one side. You could also do single leg thigh circles here. And just remembering when you're doing any of this myofascial release work or trigger point work, if you come to a sensation that is too uncomfortable, just move those balls just to one side. So just move them to another position where the sensations are not as intense. The objective with this is to create movement and to find release in the muscles, not to invite more tension and stress. I'll do my left leg. Yeah. I love it how a simple dressing gown rope can become one of the favourite tug toys. This is his second favourite tug toy versus the red one that we had in our class yesterday. Good. We're going to take away one ball and we're just going to work through the from the top of the hip crest and around, like we're doing like a little, like those 1980s aerobics, high hip, high-legged leotards. We're going to do around the top of the hip there. No, this is my ball. Little, and so you'll start just in the center of your bottom crease and move across the glutes, roll across and across. That's it, we move across and across. Finding anything interesting there, so we kind of run the ball right next to the sacrum, not on the bones, always on the fleshy muscles. Maybe just down a few more little spots. And then just a little transition over to the other side. Just starting up, top of the hip bone, that fleshy part, so glute medius. A little longer today, just to give your bodies a little bit of relief from all of that glute work we've done this week. So as we progress through the month, I'm slowly going to start to increase the load into similar exercises that we've done. We'll add some ankle weights, might add slightly heavier weights into any lunges that we do. Okay, and then just bring the body back down onto the mat and just notice how that feels. For me, it feels a little softer around the muscles. I've let go of a little bit of tension there. And then just take a little bridge on up. Just a gentle reminder of the back line of the body, of what its job is, which is to support us. Hamstrings to flex the knees so we can walk. Glute cheeks to keep the pelvis nice and steady and strong. And then lower all the way down. Good. So now we're going to move the balls to the bottom of the ribs. So it's on either side of the fleshy part of your spine, your back extensors. And so find bottom rib and that kind of fresh, fleshy part of your back. So the easiest way to get there, and if you can see through the black dog, is to lift the hips up and then place the balls on either side of the spine in that position. And this is where your bolster comes in. So if you want to put a little bit more load into those balls or take a bit of load out, you would lift the hips up onto the bolster. Oh, there's your dad. And so, or you can also, hang on. Oh, you don't want to have these balls in where there's no rib cage. It can be a bit uncomfortable. So actually I've got my feet on the bolster, so that's putting a little bit more of my weight When we're moving, when we're trigger pointing or releasing through the back, never on the fleshy part between the bottom rib and the hips. I just did that and it's like you're just punching yourself in your kidneys, which is not very fun. So if you think about your rib cage, yeah, so I'm on the ribs, not on the ribs itself, but I've got the balls on the musculature part of those back extensors at my back. But what's stopping those balls going into hitting my internal organs is my rib cage. He's fine. So just a few more breaths there. We're going to lift those hips up, move them up just in between those shoulder blades. So kind of if you're wearing a heart rate monitor around that position. And here I'm actually going to bring that bolster up underneath my hips so it's not so obtuse, because it can put your back into back extension, and not every one of us likes that. And so we're not really moving here, we're just doing what we call a compression technique. I guess if you stood on my belly, Scout, then that would be a very deep compression technique, wouldn't it? Yeah. Just a few more rounds of breath there. Big yawn, big yawn. Okay, so we'll lift those hips up, remove the balls out of the way. Yes. And I'm just going to rock on up, just sit. And so where the balls are going to go to now is in between your shoulder blades. So you've got the wing of your shoulder blades. Yeah, and so those balls are going to come right into the middle, mid to upper back. And this is where your rhomboids are. Yes, that's where they're going to go. So rhomboids, mid to upper traps. Best way is to come onto your back, have your hands behind you, and just put those balls into position. Hips are up on the bolster, so you get a little bit more. And what can be nice here is to do some little hugs of the arms and open. A little bit of movement might be nice here. Very tight spots. Hey, that's my shoe. No, you're not allowed to chew that. So the cushion under the head is just a really nice way to feel a bit more supported through this. It keeps that nice neutral alignment of the neck. So as little or as much movement, but I'd still be really cautious and mindful here. Many of us are really tight. Many of us are very tight in between our shoulder blades from our 21st century posture. Now I have my slippers underneath my body. They're there as an extra little bit of support. And then when you're ready to come out of that one, we'll just use that hand behind the knee. Bring the body on up. Oh goodness, it's the deflated duck is next. No. And now the balls are going to come up to the upper traps. So that spot where someone will squeeze you on the shoulders and say, oh, and you say, please don't stop. That feels so good. So, place them into that spot. Keep your hips up on your bolster. And here, just a simple compression technique here. So they're on either side of the neck spine, on that really fleshy part of the upper back, your upper shoulders. And I always remember I'd squeeze someone on their shoulders many, many moons ago. I used to be a massage therapist, believe it or not. And I'd often just give someone a little shoulder massage and they'd go, oh my goodness, give you $1 million to keep going. What sort of day are we going to have today, Scout? It feels like it's going to be a duck tug-a-toy day. A little rolls there might feel nice. Take one more round of breath there. As you breathe out, release the balls away. And just slide that bolster just below your buttocks. No, you can't have my shoes, nor the ball. And then the next shape we're going to move into is a version of snail. That's a inversion forward fold, but it's not a forward fold. So I'm just going to put these balls in the drawer so they don't get snuffled away. Maybe they need to go in the cupboard. Goodness gracious me, doing work with you is very challenging. All right, so to come into a little stirrup. So you move the bolster so it's across from hip to hip. And then as you lift your legs up towards the sky, you're going to take the legs back behind you. So it's a nice little passive forward fold. You're going to stretch through the back of the legs and stretch through the back line of the body. And this is a really nice, gentle, passive way to stretch your hamstrings. Oh, I think today's video might go underneath. Today's class might go on the record as probably the most intense class we've ever done together. So, yeah. Hey. No, not with my shoes. No. Just allow your bodies to just rest and be here in this shape for a few rounds of breath. And then to come out of this one, bring the heels back, excuse me, towards your buttocks. Press the bolster away, slide it underneath your knees. You're welcome to take any slippers that you might have hidden underneath your back to stop your dog from stealing them. Slide those underneath the backs of your legs now. And then just now give your body permission to just be. Just knowing that this moment is as precious as it could ever be. And enjoying every second of it. Start to bring yourself back to your physical body, the sensations and the sounds around you. A full body stretch, a yawn. Oh, slow motions start to make your way on upwards, and we'll close this practice there. Thanks for joining me. I hope you enjoyed that rather busy session with Sir Scout, said slippers, and many, many toys. Have a great rest of your day. See you tomorrow.